Hey everybody, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So this is the Casio Duro, and I've got the blue one here in front of you. And right now I am wearing this on a brand new bracelet that I just put on this. And it is a factory Casio Duro bracelet that came off of an older Duro model. So really cool design. Matches, I think, really well with this watch just because it was made for a watch that looks similar to this. So I thought I'd go over some of the features of the bracelet, some of the things I like and don't like, and then towards the end of the video, I will show you how to install the bracelet onto your Duro and also how to adjust the links on the bracelet and the micro adjustment on the clasp. So just a really, really nice looking bracelet. So the model of watch that you see in front of you is the Casio Duro MDV 106B-2AV. And from the factory, this is what you get with the watch. So this is off of Amazon's website right now. So it comes with this black resin strap. This watch also comes in a gold version and a black version, and both of those come with the same strap as well. Now, before this watch, I think it was the generation just before this line of Duro, there was a similar model, and so that's what it looks like here. This is now discontinued from Casio and very, very hard to find the watch online, but this is the Duro MDV 106D-1A2V. So those last 8 digits there are a little bit different than you saw on the other Duro. And so this one, you can see it from the factory, it came with a blue bezel, but this time it has a black dial and a red tipped seconds hand. But really interesting here, it came with a factory bracelet. And I think this year of Casio Duros had like 4 or 5 other models, different colors, but they also had several other models in that year that also had the metal bracelet. So really interesting how it used to be offered. I think it's actually better looking than the current one. So anyways, I became curious about this. I was trying to figure out how to get a metal bracelet on my own Duro. So initially I went with this one. So this is a fantastic bracelet made by Fullmosa, all metal stainless steel, brushed finish, which is great because it really matches the brushed finish here of the Casio Duro. So I'd put this on. It was very, very comfortable to use, but as is common with a typical bracelet that you'll get, this is going to be a flat end link. And when you put a flat end link on the watch, what ends up happening is you have a little bit of a gap. So if I just kind of mock fit this on here, you can see that as we put this here, since it's not curved like the one below, you're going to have a gap right there where my fingernail is and a gap right up over there where my fingernail is when you wear the watch. A very small, minor, nitpicky detail, I know, but I'm just such a big fan of having a curved end links on the watch because I really think it gives a really nice transition visually to go from watch case to bracelet. And when I found like 4 or 5 other members on the Casio Facebook group that had a factory Casio bracelet, I thought, oh, that looks really interesting. Let's go ahead and find out what that is. So this is the bracelet, and this is where I ordered it from. Let's go to that webpage here. So this is off of eBay. This is the seller that you can see here on the right side. So Parts Plus USA. Pretty good rating, 99.7 out of about 10,000 transactions. I think this person ships out of California, and there you go, $22.99 shipped for this genuine bracelet. And this seller, by the way, sells other genuine Casio parts that may no longer be in production from Casio. So there you go for the bracelet. 22 millimeters at the lugs. So let's kind of show you what the design of the bracelet is like. So starting first with some specs, of course, for Casio's lug width here, we have 22 millimeters at the lugs, and then you kind of taper down a bit. So here, you can kind of hold it up here, kind of slims down a little bit as you get towards the buckle side. So at this end over here, let's go to my ruler here in the corner. Let's get a quick measurement. So towards the tapered end, you're looking at around 20, more like 19 or 20 millimeters here towards the end of the bracelet. A nice tapered fit. You have these really nice lines that follow the case, and then that tapered fit of the bracelet I think goes really, really well. So as we run down the links of the bracelet, there are several interesting designs here. I'm going to try to hold this here at an angle so you can kind of see. So you have a mixture of brushed finish down the center and down the sides, as well as polished finish on these two lines as well. And I think that's a great design cue because the case itself of the Duro is a mixture of polished and brushed. You have, brushed finish here on the lugs, but as you turn it to the side and we go around this chamfer on the case, you have more of a polished finish here. The crown guards look like they're polished, and then the crown looks like it's polished. So I think the bracelet in that sense really matches well. So we're going down the bracelet here. Okay. Then you get to the clasp, just a very standard clasp. This looks like it is stamped. Okay, you can see here that we have the logo that's stamped onto the bracelet or to the clasp. And then you have some micro adjustments. So not too many here. You have 1 and 2 positions. So that'll give you about 2 to 3 millimeters of adjustment to make it looser or tighter. Continuing on to the bracelet over here, and we go back up to the watch. Let's go ahead and open this up so I can show you what it looks like underneath. So, very easy to do. Just kind of undo this pin here and open this up. And there's the underside of the bracelet, so stainless steel. Okay, we have our links here. And we go to the other side of the watch. Now, speaking of the links, these are going to be folded links. Of course, it's $23, so don't expect, really high quality. So folded links that you can see there. This has already been adjusted for my wrist, so I've actually removed about 2 links from this side and 2 links from the other side. So you can see here that the links that have the arrow and the hole compared to the ones that don't, these are going to be the ones that you can add or remove to make the watch to make the bracelet longer or shorter. Okay, and then as we get towards the end links over here, they're going to be hollow. Okay, so let's go ahead and take off the end links because I want to show you how to put those on. Most people know how to put them on, but it can be a little bit tricky if this is your first time. So we'll go ahead and just pry down on that spring bar. Kind of put my finger there to wedge it out, and then on that spring bar. And hopefully that'll be it. There we go. Got it on the first try. Okay, so here are your end links. So we'll remove the spring bar. So in the package, it's going to be shipped separately. This will be wrapped separately. The end links will be wrapped separately, and the spring bars will be wrapped separately. So that's really nice. But, nothing fancy there, just hollow. Okay, so that's pretty much what you're going to be getting. So before I reassemble this watch, just some commentary on it. I've been wearing this, like I said, for not a whole lot of time now. But let's just go on looks. I think looks-wise, it's a very attractive strap. Number one, I love this line here between the lugs and the end link. Sometimes with third-party bracelets that you're trying to match to a different brand of watch, you can have a really big bump here between the lug and the bracelet. Either the lug will start here and then the bracelet will be too high, or the bracelet will be too low. So here, there's a little bit of a drop from the lug to the bracelet, but not a whole lot here where I'm running my toothpick. So it's a really nice fit. What I also like here is as we flex this bracelet this way, that way, and pull it to the side, you can see that there's no gap at all between the end link and the watch. I also had a completely different bracelet that had curved end links. I ordered it off Amazon. I forgot the name of that brand now. It fit perfectly inside the lugs of my Duro, but when I went to wear the watch like this, and as the bracelet would flex, what would happen is as the bracelet would flex this way, a gap opened up, a huge gap actually, between the case and the end link. And so obviously visually that's not attractive. And then for those of you that have, quite a bit of wrist hair, that's going to be, prime areas for your hair to get caught into. So in this case, we don't have to worry about that. So that's really, really nice. So yeah, looks wise, it looks great. Fitment is fantastic. It's light. It's comfortable. Obviously, it's a cheap bracelet, so it's going to be light. But as I wear this on my wrist, I don't notice any pinch points over here along the bracelet. Sometimes that can be a worry if you have folded lugs. I can't really comment on if this is a hair puller or not because I don't really have too much hair. But so far, very, very comfortable. And then the price, I think for $23 shipped, that's pretty much what you're going to find on average for this from different sellers on eBay. I just think it's great. And then also nice to just have a genuine OEM Casio part. So that's what I like. What are the things I don't like about it? Well, I'm not going to say that it's a cheap feeling bracelet because it's 23 bucks. I'm not going to complain at 23. I will say, not really for me, but if you tend to wear your bracelets a little bit loose, you're going to have more rattling between the links, so you can just hear it here. It's a bit of a rattler, as most Casio bracelets are going to be in this price point. A minor gripe, the bracelet adjustment for this is typical Casio. This is what you're going to be finding off of the Casio Royale, that stainless steel bracelet model for the AE 1200, where you have to stick a pin in here, kind of pry your pin out, and then remove the links that way, and I'll show you that later. So it's quite tedious. It obviously puts a little bit of wear and tear on the metal, even though it's not parts that you will usually see. So I'm just not really a big fan of adjusting a bracelet that way. Even on a cheap bracelet like this from Fullmosa, it's got a much better system where you have pinholes here on the side, and so you end up just using a pin punch tool to really easily and cleanly turn a small pin to remove it out. So just a much better way, I think, to design a bracelet and still make it affordable. So not a big fan of that bracelet adjustment. Now, something that I think is really important and is not a big concern for me, though, is there is a big gap between the links. So let me try to get the best lighting here to show this to you. Okay, so right now the links on the bracelet are kind of pushed together. I want you to focus right here. If I pull apart, you can kind of see my finger run underneath that, right? You can kind of see the brown of my finger underneath that. So there, you see how there's quite a large gap. I mean, enough for me to get the tip of this toothpick, you know, almost all the way through. So why do I mention that? Well, just visually, it doesn't look that great if you're wearing this and there's a big gap between your links. But more importantly, for those of you, again, with wrist hair, that's just going to be terrible. Your hair is going to get through there and it's going to get caught. So that is, you know, one of the major downsides of this. I think it's actually worse than the factory bracelet that you get off of that Casio World Time. The gap here is quite large, so just something to be aware of. And then I think the only other complaint I have is this micro adjustment. The other Casios I've seen with stainless steel bracelets usually have 3 adjustments at the very least, sometimes even 4. So to have 2, it just makes it very hard to adjust and get the right size. So for me, this wears pretty well on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. It's just a hair tight. So if I go ahead and I put the micro adjustment to the loosest setting, it's still a little bit tight for me. The next step from there is for me to remove a link. And even if I just remove one link from one side of the bracelet all of a sudden gets way too loose. So it's either I've got to lose more weight or I've got to build more muscle in my forearms to make this thing fit. I have never had that issue with other bracelets from Casio. It's usually very easy to find the right size that's nice and snug, but that's usually because they have 3 micro adjustments. So just something to be aware of. But on the whole, very, very happy. You know, if I had to buy another bracelet like this for another Duro, I would absolutely do it again. So let's go into installing the bracelet first, because of course it's not going to come attached to a watch. So we'll just do it for one side. So what you'll do is you'll take the bracelet. Yours will be longer from the factory. You're going to go to this end over here, and this one is upside down right now. So we'll turn this over. We'll kind of put this end link on, and then you'll take the spring bar that comes with it, and just make sure I have the right spring bar here. Yep, 22 millimeters. Okay, we're going to put this spring bar through and stick it through like that. Okay. All right, and then once that's done, go ahead and flip the watch over, turn this over upside down, and you can see here that the end link kind of has like a U. You have a piece of metal here on the left and a piece of metal here on the right, and then in between these two pieces of metal, like right here, is where you need to fit this lug. Okay, so what I recommend you do is you focus first on getting the lug in between those two pieces of metal, then you focus on getting the spring bar into the holes of the lug. So we'll just go ahead and put this on, okay, kind of like that, and then kind of pull it in a little bit more so that way the spring bar on the left and the right sit on top of the lug like this. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I've got a piece of metal here. I've got another piece of metal here, so we are right in the middle. We're right where we need to be. So now that that's in, we can focus on the spring bars. Go ahead and take a small, thin tool. I have my spring bar tool here. And what we'll do is we'll go to that spring bar and push it in like this. And then with my thumb, I'm going to push down on that end link, kind of like that. Okay, don't worry if the spring bar doesn't sit inside the hole. We're going to move to the next spring bar up here. We'll go ahead and push that in as well and put a little bit of down pressure with my left thumb like that. Okay, now that the spring bar is inside the cavity, we need to jiggle it a little bit so it finds its hole. Okay, there's one click and a second click. Okay, so that looks like it's pretty good. Second thing I do is just for added security, take your tool again, go to that spring bar and pry in this direction, because sometimes the spring bar will find just the mouth of the hole, but it doesn't sit all the way inside. And when you wear this bracelet, that's when it could be stressed and come off of the watch, and then your watch will fall off your wrist. So we'll just find that spring bar and pry outward towards the lug, and then repeat for the other side as well. That looks pretty good. Give it a jiggle. Left and right, up and down. You just really kind of manipulate it to just make sure that it's not going to come loose and it'll sit in the hole nice and easy. Okay, so that's how you attach it. Now that we have both spring bars attached, what we need to do is attach the bracelet together. So what you'll do is you'll grab a different spring bar. This is a smaller size. This is not 22 millimeters. This one is actually 20 millimeters. Okay. And the way you measure your spring bars, by the way, is from, let's get a better video here. You measure it from here till the end of one side of the spring bar. You don't include both ends. So right where the spring bar meets the barrel, you start the measurement here and you end over here. And that should be 20 millimeters for the spring bar that goes here into the clasp. So we'll put that in like that. Okay, and then we will just choose any of these micro adjustment holes. You'll put it in one hole first, take your tool, push down on the spring bar, and push it into the clasp like that. And listen for a click, and a click on the other side as well. Make sure that you're on the right micro adjustment on both sides. Again, give it a jiggle to make sure it doesn't fall out, and you're good to go. So I'll go ahead and put this on the wrist, because now that it's attached, I want to point out the last kind of small negative about this bracelet. So there we go. Fits well. Now, one thing you're going to know here is this is not very tight. I can still put a finger underneath this, so I don't want you to think this has to do with a poor adjustment. But just by design, you can see that the way this end link works is it doesn't move, which is great because we don't have any gap here, but you have a really big step off between the end link and the first link. So where's the best camera angle for that? Zoom in a bit. There we go. So you can see here, huge step off, really, really big. I can fit my toothpick in there. Okay, so it's, you know, more of just an eyesore. I don't think that's really a worry for comfort or hair, but more of just an eyesore that you don't really have a smooth transition. Let me kind of show you on the opposite end what a different type of end link. This one is coming off of my Orient Triton or Orient Neptune. So again, curved end links here. And of course, this is a more premium watch, the Orient, so of course it's going to look a little bit better. But just look at that difference, right? So as we go from the end link to the first link here, there's really no drop off. It just maintains that line really, really well. versus the Casio on the left, which has that really huge step off between the first link and the end link over there. So just a minor thing to be aware of. Honestly, I put this on for 15 minutes. I don't really notice it. And I always tell myself, it's a Casio bracelet. You know, keep your expectations realistic. So something to be aware of. Okay, so now that we have the bracelet installed, let's go ahead and move on to adjusting the links. Now, my rule of thumb for this is once you put on the bracelet, let's zoom out here, go ahead and put it on your wrist, fully put it on, and then I want you to take one finger and try to put it underneath the bracelet. If you can fit just a little bit of your finger, but not quite the whole thing on there, then that means that it's really just a tad bit loose. And so you probably can get away with tightening it by just making an adjustment to the micro adjuster over here. So if this is a little bit loose, I'd go ahead and just move this from this side to this side because it's such a small amount of my finger that I was able to get through. Now, if I put the bracelet on, and let's say I'm just exaggerating here, I'm going to take it off. Let's say I could get my whole finger in there or two fingers in there. That's way beyond the micro adjustment. What I would do is don't even worry about that. Move on to the links on the bracelet. So let's go ahead and do that now. To do this, you're going to need your spring bar tool. You'll also be needing a pair of pliers. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Soft surface, make sure you don't scratch the face of the watch. So I like to open up the whole entire bracelet here. So I'll take off the spring. Okay, open that up, and then let's just go to one end over here. Okay, I'm just going to do one adjustment on one side because it's the same procedure for the other. So we're going to look again for those links that have the arrows on them. So a couple things to know here. This right here is going to be one link. Okay, what I'm outlining. Now within that one link, you're going to have a few landmarks. You're going to have this circle over here. And inside this circle, the top half is occupied by this dot. And behind the dot is like a depression. It's like a cavity. Okay? And then next to that circle, you're going to have your arrow. So focus on the arrow. That tells us that we need to be removing the pin in this direction. Okay? Now that we know what direction we need to remove our pin in, you need to take a very thin tool that will fit inside the circle and also be small enough to fit in that cavity behind the dot. So in this case, that's my tool here. So you'll put that tool inside and you're going to pry in this direction. Okay, so like this. And so you see, as I do that, the pin starts to expose itself. Now you want to keep prying until the dot appears on the other side. So the dot here used to be inside the circle. You want to keep prying until it appears outside the circle over here, and you can see the entire dot. So that is half exposed. I'm going to do it a little bit more. There we go. Now I've got the whole dot outside. Once it's outside, it makes the pin very loose and very easy to pull. So you just take your pliers here and let's get focused, and we're going to pull this outside like that. And that's how the pin looks when it gets outside. So just keep that orientation in mind. Okay, so that's one pin out. Now to remove, again, we're focusing just on our one link over here. To remove that link, we are free now on this side. You can see that, but we're still attached on this side. So you need to do the same procedure for the adjacent link. So you're going to go to that circle, go behind the dot, put your tool in and pry outward. And do that till you see the dot appear on the other side. Take your pliers again. And pull like that. It's very easy to do. Okay, so now that we have our bracelet fully exposed, okay, what we're going to do is lift up on this end here to kind of free that. Lift up on this end here. And we're going to remove that link out like that. Now with the link, you're also going to remove this piece as well that's attached to it. Okay. Great. So now that that's removed, we're going to connect the right to the left like that. Okay, and then you're going to turn it over and push it inside and then hold it with your fingers like this. Okay, so let's really zoom in here. And I apologize for all the reflection, but you know, it's stainless polished steel, so it's going to reflect in the camera a little bit. Okay, so now that you're holding that, that link in place, you're going to look for this gap over here. Okay, you're going to take your pin and orient it this way with the dot facing towards you. You're going to insert it this way and push it down. Now sometimes it will feel stuck. If it feels stuck, that just means you're not pushing the two parts of the links close enough together. So just keep pushing it together while simultaneously pushing down with your finger over here. And push it down just enough till the dot touches the bracelet. Okay, so just like that. Once you're here in this position, it's going to be quite difficult to push it the rest of the way. And of course, you don't want to use your pliers because you're going to damage the polished finish that you have here on the side of the bracelet. So take something firm but soft. So I have here a piece of cardboard, very stiff cardboard. Put it underneath there and just push down till you hear a click. There you go. And then you turn it over, check to make sure it's nice and smooth, and that looks great. So we are all set. And then what you'll do is do the reverse. You'll go ahead and reattach the bracelet back as usual and check your fitment. Now, if you remove a link on one side, usually you want to remove a link on the opposing side as well, so that way the watch stays centered in your wrist. It also keeps the bracelet centered on the underside of your wrist. If that doesn't work and you really just need to remove one link, that's fine. Just try to do the best you can so you can keep the watch centered on your wrist. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Pretty straight and simple. Don't use a lot of force while doing this and just kind of take your time. But anyways, guys, that'll do it for today's video. Again, this is the factory OEM Casio stainless steel bracelet off of a previous generation Duro that fits onto the current version of the Duro. As a few of you know, the Duro is due for a facelift, I think at the end of this year or beginning of 2022. We're going to be getting some new color options, and I think the bezels are going to change. We're going to get this split colored bezels. So it'd be interesting to see if the dimensions are the same, like 22 millimeters at the lugs, because what a great bracelet, I think, to pair to those as well. So any comments or questions, please put them down below. All the parts here you can find in the links as well. And if you could subscribe to my Instagram in the description, as well as to this channel, that would be greatly appreciated. And as always, have fun, and I will see you guys on the next one.